السلام عليكم فاروق كيف حالك؟ Audio, audio. We cannot hear you.
Oh,
Okay, there
walaikum
you
salam
go.
wa barakatuh. How you doing, Brother Yasin?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, we're doing well. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. I apologize for my tardiness. I've been running into the night. The kids snatched me up into daytime. It's 9:30 at night, so I apologize.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I was telling our brothers and sisters that yeah, there's a time difference with you in Kazakhstan, and I figures you about 10, 11 hours or something like that
Just a
difference.
little, just a little
Just a little
bit.
bit. Nah, alhamdulillah. So we've been keeping busy, just discussing in general way the project and benefits, and just reconnected with one of our brothers, brother Abdul Alim, who I've been knowing since the '80s. When I spent some time up north, but and that wasn't I wasn't incarcerated. So when I say just some time up north, I'm not talking about in one of the facilities. I was
Allah.
in New York City, which I always say New York ran me out of the country. So Farouk, I don't want to tell you give you a topic or anything because you know while we're here, but I do want to make sure you. One of the things we were talking about in our conversation was how our project, our effort, can sort of ride on the back of piggyback, be facilitated by coordinate and collaborate with the larger Freedom Nation project and become some in some way. I think you were discussing. I don't want to characterize it, but in some way kind of become a an associate or what have you, an affiliate or a member of Freedom Nation, while at the same time being a separate project that is, can benefit from a lot of what you have already achieved and put into place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, first of all, assalamu alaikum to everyone on the call. And of course, I know Brother Yasin. He's been over here with Kazakhstan. We've traveled. I think we covered all the checkpoints. I think we have lived together with each other for a period of time. We have definitely prayed together, and we ate together. We ate some stuff. We ate together.
And we were in the sauna. We were in the sauna together.
Yeah, so I can say that according to the Sunnah, I definitely know Brother Yasin,
No,
and Brother Yasin knows me. So the thing is, to give a little background, I'm not sure all of the backgrounds of the people who are on the phone, but to give a little bit of my background and about Freedom Nation, really short, is that Freedom Nation was the outset of the desire. I was young. My Abu was Imam Abdul Karim Sayyad inside of Atlanta. He was a member of the Dar al-Islam. And his intentions were to always build an ideal space. For us, it was being an African-American Muslim, but where you could practice your Islam without being intruded upon by someone else. So basically he wanted to see his children and his grandchildren be free to be what he felt was the best way of life possible. And I also agree. That expanded. I came down and was really kind of moved at some point about the idea of Dar al-Islam. And I said, I asked a couple of imams, a couple other people, and from different backgrounds. It was very interesting. I had some Imam Nadim from Imam Jamil's camp. I had Imam Pleeman from Imam Wardi Muhammad's camp. I had Imam Sheikh Menelik from that camp and whatever. And we were all sitting out there with Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool from South Africa to the United States. And we were on the back porch. We all, sitting down. Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool was an excellent person. He literally wrote the parts of the Constitution of South Africa that include Muslims in it. So we were sitting there, and I said, Dar al-Islam, the topic, the word, not the idea. We know the idea, but the word is toxic in our environment. People are immediately put bad things on it. what do we do? What do we create that is still in line with the vision of so many of our leaders and still, but doesn't have a negative connotation to it. It's positive. And they said, Faruq, you should be building Dar al-Shahada. He said, that is a place where Muslims can reach excellence. And through that excellence, they can then give Shahada to others, not by preaching, not by whatever, but just by being excellent, peaceful people, living the life that Rasulullah had planned for us. So at that point, I changed. I said, okay, my vision has to be Dar al-Shahada. What does that look like? And it has to be a place where people have the freedom to be themselves, the freedom to do their thing upon a limit, because the limit becomes, and I wrote a book about this, is that when you get to a point where your ideals of what it means to have a wholesome, free space conflict with the ideals of someone else, then that place can't be free for them anymore. It can be free for you, but not for them. You know, the environment we live in now, it doesn't feel free to us because the concepts that it's founded on, they disagree with us wholeheartedly. But when we talk about moving to another space, there's certain concepts, certain base morality that we bring with us that can be just fine if you are one lifestyle. But if you're another lifestyle, you know, we have the Freedom Nation, we have a rejection letter we give to some people when they don't necessarily fit in the lifestyle that we've trying to create. We just point them to somewhere else. We don't say anything bad, whatever. We just say it's not a fit. Here's 100 other ones that are just like you, and you can fit just fine. And if you need a referral, I'll call them for you. So this Dar al-Shahada, this place, I had a lot of time to try to figure out what it is we're developing, what's been missing from so many of the efforts. And I think some of us, we don't even recognize all of the efforts that have been made. We don't recognize the fact that Imam Jamil had the place down in Alabama, you know, off of down going towards Selma. We don't realize that Imam Wardi Muhammad had 4,000 acres that he was working off of. We don't realize that the nation had another 6,000 acres, and then they have another 500 acre plot as well. We don't realize that Sheikh Jelani came in and brought up all of these spaces throughout the United States, or that Sheikh Hassan came and brought a place here and there. We don't realize that there's been so many. We don't realize that Marcus Garvey tried his own thing. We don't realize that Booker T tried Tuskegee, and Tuskegee ended up what it was. We don't realize there was 217 Black towns in 1901. 217, and they've almost all died. So we asked, like, what is it that's missing? If we're gonna do this, we can't just have another generation where it fails as soon as we die. That's a waste. It's a waste of our energy, our money, our time, everything. We have to have something solid. So I spent about a good 10 solid years just finding out what it meant to do economic development, to build new cities, to make and build your own construction materials. I literally went specifically on this topic alone. I went to 38 different countries and studied different towns, big ones, small ones, little ones, villages, everything else. I mean, I went all in and cataloged it. And what came out of that was that we needed to build a professional organization for people who wanted to live their own free lives. There are so many things that need to be done. There's huge knowledge gaps between the time you say, I'm going to buy land, to the time that it's the ideal space you want to live in, and your children, and very important, that your children want to live in. You know, I'm going to say that point because I know a really good brother who did this in Colorado. He moved out. I remember visiting with my brother. He had a big, beautiful complex. You know, he had built a square, and he had put his boys and everything there. Girls were living down there with their mothers. He had this thing going on, and all of them. I remember when we visited, we thought, hey, this is beautiful. You can see all the way back to the mountains, and it was pretty. Man, not a single child stayed. Every child grew up and left. And I asked one of his sons a couple of years back, I said, why'd you leave? He said, if you want to do something like that, you better make sure that the people that your children got to marry want to live there. You got to make sure that everybody down the line want to live there. That's not something you can just, one man can do. And then, yeah, you can keep your kids as long as you're raising them, but as soon as they raise, they're going to do what they think is best for themselves. And in the environment we live in, they're going to choose the Pop-Tart method. What the quickest thing that can pop into the oven and come out, you know, and working out on a piece of land and stuff that just doesn't appeal to our children in the era that we're in. So I understood that we needed to do something better, and we needed to bring a lot of skills. So we went and built a professional organization. So we built Freedom Nation as a holding company. Then we built a professional organization called Genius Co Support Services. For 12 years before that, 15 years before that, Genius Co Support Services had been our IT company. It's how I fed my 10 children. And I said, okay, we convert this into a professional management firm. We extended ourselves to Kazakhstan for a lot of reasons. I can go into later, but we a lot of reasons. One of the main ones is so that we could have a place that was specifically geared towards African Americans, that was Muslim, that we could hire people, bring people in and connect them with our people. Some people with similar backgrounds, similar hardships, came out of it with similar kind of fire, had our methods and ways of thinking, you know, not exactly, but very close. And Brother Yassin can atone to that because he came in, he saw the people, he know how they act. They just like, well, Assalamu alaikum, brother. What's up, brother? You know, what's up? That's Kazakh language, just as much as it is ours. And so we did that, and we built the staff of about, you know, we're up to like 14 now. And then we focused heavily on providing the services that would allow us to build a strong organization for creating self-determination and independence amongst groups that wanted to do so, groups and individuals. If you go on our website, freedomnation.me, if you give me the opportunity, I'll share my screen, Brother Yassin, just to share some pieces.
Yeah. Give me a second here. Let me give you. All right. You should be able to share now.
So if you go on our website, on freedomnation.me, you'll see that, you know, we've taken the time to build bridges. We've built a marketing engine. We've built a support structure. We built an entry process to basically screen people when they come in. All this to make sure that we have people who are in line with these base concepts, the core concept of independence. We've been very good at developing automation in our tools, in our processes, the whole service orientation deck. We have our own portal for the people who come out and purchase their land. We have all of the contracts written out, all of the methods of individuals working together. So we have the contracts for if you're a group and you come in and you want your group to collectively own that land and work with each other, we have the base contract that we can just send out in a click of a button. We have all of that figured out already. We have collective investment in infrastructure projects, right? So when it comes to, you know, electricity, when it comes to water, when it comes to the internet, we have already taken in collective investments to build those infrastructures into the lands that we purchase. We have a purchasing engine. We have people on the ground that go out and look. I wish they would work faster, but there's some complexity sometimes, but they look, they talk, they get everybody on the phone, we work. And then in addition to all of that, we put 2 years into finding the ideal county to build in. And that's important. That's so important. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes his own choices. And so he shapes things in the way he likes. But our brother Umar there in DC, I remember before he had the accident, he was having a lot of problems with his neighbors, a lot. You know, they were blocking him left and right. And then the accident kind of created a situation where the people were more tender to him. Alhamdulillah, that was due to dua, him and his wife. You know, but otherwise things had started to get a little heated for them. There are a lot of communities that face immediate scrutiny from the people around them. And what we need to realize is, as much as we desire to break off, we still got to get the permits. We still got to get the proper zoning. We still there's still some kind of, outside of our private property, there's still policing and other governmental things that impact us as long as we're in the United States, even if we're outside the United States, you know, somebody else's government. We have to deal with those layers. So we found a special place where there was a low population. There was a high desire to have someone in place who could bring people in to populate the state. The state, excuse me, the county has not seen a positive population growth in just about 50 to 60 years. But it's an ideal space. It's right in between 1.5 hours from the Atlanta airport, busiest airport in the world. It's 2 hours from the third busiest port in the country, Savannah Port, right? And then you're in this perfect space where you're about maybe 15 minutes from the highway, from I-20, which runs into South Carolina, Alabama, and then connects you to 85, 75 once you hit Atlanta, and takes you through Mobile, and it's the only road from Athens, from Macon to Augusta, which are all the main cities in that area. So it's a pretty interesting spot. And on top of all of that, the primary population, there's a population against the river, but those are lake houses. In the city, in the actual county, those operating people, 90% African American, right? 90% Black. And it's inside of a state that just became 54% Black, you know? And so it's a really interesting space and it's one of the things that we do when we scout out locations as a part of the service, in order to make sure that we're purchasing land in a place where when people come, they don't have to worry about if their neighbors are going to rile up or have issues or whatever. You know, our neighbor comes over and helps everybody that rides on the property. They ride on the property. Rick comes out there, be like, "What's up?" And Rick help you out. Rick will tell you stories about, you know, Mayfield, which was built by a Black person in 1971. And he grew up in Mayfield, in the Black town right there in Hancock County. That's our neighbors. Our neighbors ain't the ones that scream at you and cause whatever. If we do have a white neighbor, they stay in their house because they don't say much of nothing. We went out there, the police come down there, they shake our hands and they know who we are. We know the detectives, we know the chief of police, you know, and quite frankly, the more of us move into that space, the county commissioner is elected with 3,000 votes. Our district commissioner is elected with 300 votes. So the more of us that come into that space, the more we're in a position to just simply vote in whoever we feel like, all the way from the county level to the city level and all the way through, which gives us the ability also to elect our own police chief, everything. And we got 100 citizens now that are landowners. So we're literally like just less than 2 times, 3 times away from being able to control the vote completely inside of our district. So it's a very, you know, good spot. We have opened it up, and what I wanted to show, I'm going to switch my screen really quick. I'm going to stop and start again. I'm going to share my whole screen, and I hope this doesn't come off too big. Oh, how about share the whole screen? Screen. There we go. Okay. So internally, we've also built the ability to be able to do all the steps necessary. Let's see. Yeah, this is it. In order to survey the property properly, in order to do all of the designs for the work that needs to be done later. And this is my own desk. And even here, we work with the architectural engineers, we work with all the other engineers from the capacity of they work for us as consultants. They sign off on our work, they give us their stamps, their templates, everything else. And then like a drafter, we do the designs of the houses, we do the plotting of the lands. And you can even see here, this land is spot on. We do the plotting of the land, everything else. So all these, so many other services, so many things that, you know, when you go to do a strong design, this is the property and this is the survey. When you go to do the designs for this and do the surveys and stuff, the survey alone, like just surveying this much land, is about $35,000, right? The fact that we can pull this off on our own, we can send our own people with their pegs, we can produce our own meets and bounds reports and everything else, we pay about $2 grand. But that's because we built the facilities internally to be able to handle this kind of stuff. We can do this internally. We don't need to ask anyone's help or assistance. We do it to the T at a professional level. All that's internal into the Freedom Nation. So it's a huge thing. Even the documents, the condominium declaration that you have to file to be in line with the law, to make sure that when they come to that front gate, they can't come through. So unless they got a warrant, can't nobody come through that front gate way up here. This is private property with private roads. The documentation, the legal filing that you got to do to make that work, that's already been put in place. It's 137 pages that we had to file legal documentation in order to create the foundation for this structure so that we could pull this off. And these are things that our citizens don't worry about. They literally just do their thing. Down here, even in this property, all the property down here in this section is owned by the Grove at Freedom Village. So it's basically a brother named David Muhammad out of San Diego. He brought 15 people now that he has. They all brought 1.25 acres apiece. He brought 3 more. So they essentially own about 30 acres, 25, 30 acres of land. And on that 30 acres, they're building their whole world. We took care of access from the streets. We took care of all the other things that would have stopped them and slowed them down so that they can just get in, worry about raising up their capital to do their thing and get their thing done. We also offered them halal financing on the land and halal financing on their buildings as they build them. That's one of the things we're doing here in Kazakhstan. We don't charge no riba. If we charge a fee and you pay it off, we give it back to you. You know, everything. Like we do 100% halal financing for everything. So it means a mechanism to help everyone grow, to make everything go. And you become part of the collective purchasing of all the people versus just your people, which gives you better pricing, gives you better everything. It's just a better thing. And you lose nothing. You don't lose anything in your design. You don't lose anything in what you want to do. You don't lose anything in your internal governmental policies that you want to create. We help you, we facilitate you. We tell you how to be in accordance. Like right now, we have a village council that's developed. Literally, it's so interesting. The Village Council of Freedom Village is demanded by Georgia law that anyone who lives there has to follow the council rules. We put that together. We hired the legal team to make it work. You know, so all of this is done. It's not, you don't have to think about it. You just simply come in and we work together and we get it done. And that's a unique thing that to take 10 years of work, to take all that travel, to take, I can tell you for a fact, we have in about 1.7 million in investment that we have gotten in to get to this point. And you get all of that just by saying, I want to work within the structure instead of outside the structure. Everything becomes available. You still get to do your thing, but you gain all the services and everything else. Of course, we make a little bit of money when we sell a property. We make a little bit of money when we sell your house, but it's worth it. We make the money instead of Joe Blow, Jimmy Bob, and Home Depot, and all these other folks that you might go to, you know, and that's worth it. And it's Muslim all the way through. Our whole staff is Muslim. Everyone here is following the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People praying 5 times a day that are handling what's going on in this space with pure intentions on making sure that you get to where you want to be. So I asked a little bit, it's not everything because everything is a lot, but it's a little bit about what we put together and how we're using it to facilitate brothers and sisters who want to now create their own spaces.
All right, excellent. Yeah, this is and so one of the things that all of that you mentioned that you've developed internally so that you can keep that wealth within the community, and as well as creating a revenue stream by providing services and, you know, like you said, building the houses and that sort of thing. It takes so these are lessons that we definitely want to extract from what you've done, and like also to be able to take advantage of some of the resources and systems that you've built in order so that we don't have to create the wheel all over again. That's not necessary. And it can take, like you said, you put years in developing this, you know, and so what we have a lot of questions from people who say, well, how do we do this? And how are you going to do that? Well, the answer to that is already been time tested, right? It's already
Uh,
been, and that's why we don't want to go through that process, because it could take years. You could cut years off of how we grow, how we develop, how we're able to establish certain things, relationships within the county, within the state, laws, and those sorts of things falling. Even though there's a difference between maybe the laws in one state or county and another, the fact is that generally you're going to have um, a good idea of how to approach it, at least to find out what those laws are, and maybe if there are, as we were discussing before, any potential workarounds or things that would allow you um, to gain more, like you were saying, the 130 plus page document you turned in, to be able to turn basically your property into like a village where you govern it. You can't come past this gate unless you're authorized, that sort of thing. So those are the things we're trying to establish. I'm saying, okay, the citizens, the founding citizens of this community, it's a community, it's a village, it's whatever we want to, but it's ours, and we govern it inside of those borders that are established on, as we lay things out. That's that we run this, so having the right uh, municipal codes, or the ability, as we were discussing, how to use those codes in your favor, because there are certain things you can do that, as we were talking about building the causeway between the different houses, or the roofs joining, and that sort of thing. There are things we can do that create a legal sort of loophole. I guess is one way people can understand what we're saying. It creates the legal ability to do things that otherwise could not be done. So, but understanding the law and how we apply it, and a lot of those lessons and things, like you said, the contracts and things like that, that come out of your experience and what you've created with Freedom Nation. Those are the things we want to take advantage of. And before I forget, because Abdullah, he's not here, but I would be remiss if he didn't have me, that I have to mention to you that Freedom Village KZ, we want the information, because we're ready to move on that, like soon, very soon, like now.
as soon as I can, either as soon as we get finished with this, or as soon as I get up in the morning, I can go ahead and we can call and knock that one out.
Okay.
That's I don't know if the brothers on the phone understand that what KZ is. The in Kazakhstan, one of the things that we're after is the New Silk Road, because what we realize in the middle of trying to create a village or a city in the U.S. is that, you ever heard of are brothers familiar with this idea of putting a city on top of a mountain? And how do you fight a city that's on a mountain? Like, a city on the mountain is cool. Once you're on the mountain, it's real hard to get up the mountain. So the people in the mountain have an isolated world, in Italy and other countries, Romania, whatever, the cities on the mountain. But the one way you fight a city on the mountain, if you want to sack the city, you don't attack, you siege it. You just sit around the mountain and don't let nobody down. After that, they starve. They'll literally have famine. They'll die in the streets, and you can just come in there and pick up the bodies and toss them over the wall and just take the city. So a lot of us, when we think about Exodus, we always think about building these cities on the mountain, and we don't realize it. But the city on the mountain is when you're still dependent on the outside world for giving you everything you need inside. Self-sufficiency is a great idea. However, self-sufficiency, typically when we think about it, we think about the food. We don't think about all the other things, the building materials. We don't think about, and you can cut your lumber. You're still gonna need some nails. You're still gonna need screws. You're still gonna need hinges for the doors. You're gonna need doorknobs. You can make them out of wood if you like, right? You're gonna need some form of insulation. You can use CSEB. We're certified in doing CSEB and earthen building. We are certified earthen builders, right? So we know all about what you can and cannot do, all the things you might be reading about with cob houses, putting sand in bags and sandbag houses, everything. We have literally seen every last one in action. in action and pull the data and have the data on it and constantly stay with those groups that pull that data. You know, we're tied educationally to the UNESCO head of Earth and Building for the United Nations, for the UNESCO. That's the Orville Earth Institute in India, right? And Sarpram is their guy. But we have technical problems we call Sarpram. So there's a lot of things there. Plastics, ain't none of us kicking enough petroleum out of those grounds in order to create plastics, in order to do our containers. Even your gas tanks on your cars. If you're using a car to go back and forth, you need that. There's so much. I could just keep going and going and going. You can get rid of toilet paper. I haven't used toilet paper in 15, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Most brothers go out on the limb, maybe stacking paper products. I got so, you know, you see the preppers, they be surviving. They put a whole room with nothing but paper products. They be like, so that's, you know, I've been doing that since we lived in Sudan as a kid. I lived in Khartoum for a while. I went to school there. I've been doing that since then. But the point is you still need a lot. So we understood that we had to really address the supply chain. And we had to build villages that connected a massive supply chain together so that we could have a supply chain for our villages. One fed the other. And anything we couldn't do, we needed direct relationship with the governments and the entities that then fed us those pieces of our supply chain so that we could do it. And we also needed to segment it, break it into pieces so not one person could just lay down a hammer and just cut off the city on the mountain. So, you know, Cargos is one of the first international villages that we're building. I've been heavy into the technical elements of that project. But this is, we're building Freedom Village Cargos now. I can actually share a little. We're building Freedom Village Cargos now. It is a free trade zone on the Chinese border and the Kazakh border. And it allows us some opportunities that are absolutely amazing. This is one of the structures in there that we're building now. Let's see, there it goes. That's one of the structures we're building now. And then we're heavy into it. We're not like on the fence with it, whatever. We are building a distribution center. We've already pre-negotiated a lot of deals with Chinese manufacturers to do sourcing into the area, Uzbeki, as well as Kyrgyzstan, Russian, and Kazakh manufacturers and Turkish manufacturers, so that we can set up our own supply chain out of that space. I was looking for documents here. I'm too deep into this to see, but the thing is that we're heavy built into. I'm trying to share. What? Oh, I don't have to do it this way. Yes, I do. I can do it this way. It's on our website. I forgot. I totally forgot it's on our website. I'm pulling up the plans, but while that's loading, I can actually show you. I can share with you. What we did is we convinced. This is the presentation we used. We convinced the Kazakh government that investing in African Americans as investors and welcoming us to the country was to their own benefit. We pulled in some real heavy hitter plays. We had an official ceremony with the Prime Minister present, and we signed an agreement giving our Freedom Nation and any of its citizens full access to all of the special economic zones and privileges, investment privileges of Kazakhstan. Then we built from there, and I know I'm going against all security stuff showing my layout here, but that's okay. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and that was a televised event. The signing. Who was that? The Prime Minister or?
We signed directly with the head of Kazakh Invest. The Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he's also over the investment committee. The investment committee has a chair. We met with them in New York, along the departments right outside the UN at their consulate in New York. And then when we came back over here, he had the proper tiered person. So the chairman of Kazakh Invest, which is the official organization for the government that deals with welcoming investors in. So he signed the agreement with us. publicly at a big signing event. It was a really big thing at the Hilton. Blah blah blah. It was pretty nice. This is the development, and what you're looking at in the center, that is the Kazakh and Chinese border in the center. And this is the largest dry port in the world, Cargo's dry port. And this is we own all the land here. Inside this zone, which allows you to walk through the border with no passport, no visa. So you can walk through the Chinese border as long as you're in this city, this connected city. Both sides of the border create one city. And we built that in order to build these buildings that are office orientated. So it's collective office, residential. This is what we're building currently, this structure. You can see I'm into the building right now because I've got all of the plans just sitting in front of me. So but we're building this first, and then we'll build another 48 buildings in all. And we're now contracting the second piece of land, which is another 10 hectares, to build the fulfillment, sourcing, and assembly plant there that will service products to the U.S. within 4 to 5 days whenever we need them, so that we have a direct connect to build any product you think of. You can actually sit on the border at Cargos. You envision the actual situation in the end. It's pretty amazing. You can sit in Cargos across some border. You can wake up in the morning and wait, I didn't show you the best part. This is the best part. This is the part that moves my heart. This is the part that lets me know that what we're doing is the right thing. Hold on, I have to share this with you, brother. I'm just, I don't know, Yassine, I don't know if I shared this with you. I was standing out there on the property in Cargos, and I heard the adhan come through beautifully. And I was looking around like, where's the adhan coming from? Like, what is it? There is a mosque that was built during the old Chinese times. And the way the story goes is that, and this is a cool history, man, right here, China tried to push against its borders and push against the Rashidun Caliphate. And when they tried to do that, the Muslims fought them back and started converting the Chinese soldiers to Muslims. A couple of those soldiers built a community right here, and I'll show it to you. And they built this community, and they built a beautiful mosque, no nails in it, no nothing. It's right there. They built this beautiful mosque sitting, where is it at? You can see the dome, hold on. It's just sitting right here in this little village. And they built the mosque, and the adhan rings out over from this mosque. I'm looking, it's a little golden dome. Can't see it on the back. My eyes are not. I don't know what it's supposed to do. Oh, maybe that's it, right? No. No, okay, it's in this village. I'm trying to find it. My eyes won't just. But anyway, there's a little mosque in this village. Our land is right here. And that little mosque rings out, the adhan rings out from this thing, and you can hear it clearly on the Chinese border. It is the most awesome thing. And like I said, it tossed me. I was walking, and I was Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I was like, yo, where's that coming from? And I was like, and I realized it was coming from right there. So you're in this space across from the Chinese border, right next by the big port that takes you 12 days into Germany, 13 days into London. You can go down south through Pakistan, and you can get to UAE and Africa in 4 days. And the development is such where when you come in, you purchase the space, you go from the residential, the part on the top of the building, and you can walk across the border right here and negotiate any terms you want. You walk across the border, you negotiate with any Chinese about this, that, blah, blah, and just walk back to your place. And then you can build any product in the world and then ship it out same day. And it's usually, if it's by air, New York in 3 days. If it's by sea, New York in 28 days. And it is 20% of what it costs to ship it from China. 20%. You can ship the solar panels that you cannot ship from China to the US. They're too expensive. You can ship from here. All kinds of stuff. So that Freedom Village Cargos is it's here. It's some information about it on our website. You can see some of the plans and the layouts and stuff like that. But it's an amazing space. It's part of the deal. You know, it comes with being a part of the Freedom Nation and working within that structure. Everything becomes open to you. You know, once you walk through that gate and that you decide to work in, all of those resources just immediately become available, and all of our projects are immediately available to everyone. So I mean, I guess another one of the benefits. You know, is just being able to expand the concept years beyond what we might be able to do individually.
Now, with all that being said, and that's great. And what we were talking about, can you explain a little bit about how and what type of relationship that the Sharia Land Project can establish uh, within Freedom Nation, maybe becoming citizens of Freedom Nation, maybe whatever. But how can that relationship work where we can have a beneficial, mutually beneficial relationship? Because as we grow, there'll be people who uh, will want to join because they want to take part in projects, or they want to take part in investment opportunities. And as Freedom Nation grows in their international scope, there'll be other things presented in Africa, not just in Asia and Central Asia, but in through across and in, into Africa and potentially South America and wherever else. You know, here in the States, their projects. So, how can that relationship best work uh, for us, you know, at the Sharia Project as we grow? Because considering this is basically, we consider this a demonstration project, and we're looking at doing more across the nation and indeed across the globe. So, can you go into that a little bit as we discussed?
So everything is available to citizens. So, and let me be clear what I mean by citizens. So, basically, we have an intake process that, you know, people come in, they go here, freedomnation.me/apply. The shared part will come in and say, hey, look, I'm going to use all these tools in our benefit, right? So you come in, you fill out your basic freedom information. This is information that, like I said, even if you're doing this on your own, you should be collecting this information. It's real simple. It's like, you know, basic identifiable information. This is this really key stuff. What is my ideal life? So you can really clarify people's niyat. You really understand why they're doing what they're doing. You know, they want to do this, and the level of involvement. These questions about who you want to, like, my community, you get a scope of each person, what they want to do. You're asking questions like how they self-identify, their current skills, not that weird stuff, how they self-identify as far as their skills, and their current skills. And then they also say skills they want to learn. They go in, they fill out their story, their goals, everything else that's in there. And so when you come into our intake process, you do that. You automatically receive it over here. I can share this actually, right? This is one of our recent applicants who just comes in and gives information. We do an interview with that person. We talk to them about their independent needs, because see, what we understand is this: people come together as a community to do something. But what you lose sight of in the process is the individual desire of each person. And if you lose sight of it, this is what causes communities to break apart. Because brother such and such had this going on, he thought this going on, it didn't go the way he liked, this is not working for me anymore. So we never lose sight of the individual reasons why people do what they do. We capture all that right out the box. Once we capture it, we bring it in, we have an interview with them. It's a video interview. We share it with the existing citizens. The existing citizens make a call to sponsor the individual. And then after sponsoring the individual, they're sent a contract. The contract establishes the Freedom Nation as a project manager, basically a project manager that's there to help you realize your project. And everyone then accepts it as a citizen. Inside that structure, you fall basically into the whole, once you do that, you fall into the legal structure. That's our citizenship agreement. From there, everything is open, absolutely everything. Joint development of projects is open. We have infrastructure projects like we have our cloud services. We have our Wi-Fi. services. We actually own all of our cloud services and everything else. We own our Wi-Fi network, everything else. And all of this becomes part of the deal. If you want to get in it, all the structure, halal way of investing in the businesses has already been worked out. So when we come up with the water, if you don't want, you can do your own water, dig your own well. But when you got a property with 40 people on it and everybody digs a well, you're going to hurt your water table. So you need to manage that a lot better by having a single commercial well and then taking care of piping and pressure to those houses. And you should think about stuff like that. So the mechanism for making that work, legality of it, how you invest in it collectively, how you then benefit from charging everybody for that, all the systems, everything that needs to be done is already in place. We're already doing it. And we just extend it to you. You literally can just jump on. As a citizen, you automatically get it. As a citizen, you register in the portal, and then everything is open to you after that. Everything. I just can't explain to everything. Also, what we do is part of the service is that we ask people to come in and fill out, and I'll share this. I think I have permission to share one or two. So this is the collective, this is some of the collective numbers of the existing Freedom Nation. So this is only 24 plans, so there's only 24 citizens. But you get this data off the bat about your people. So everybody in our group trusts one another. So essentially we get things like, but we don't share their individual information, we sell consolidated information. Consolidated, we track the monthly spend of each of the citizens. We understand, you tell us, what you're spending on utilities and water and this and that. You build out a plan when you first come in. We assign each person in your group a coach. Okay, I know Brother Yusuf, he doesn't mind. Each brother comes in with a coach and the coach helps them. We lay out milestones for you to actually achieve individually. We make sure it links up to the overall plan of the organization. So we really come in as very real project managers of your entire community to try to help you get to where you want to go. We go into massive detail about it, coach, talk, walk through, take everything else, plan out when you're going to open a house. And then the beautiful thing about it is when we look back, like this is for our citizens now, we're able to do this now with our citizens. We can see the dates that everybody wants to move in, the dates that everybody wants to contract their land, the dates that everybody wants to do anything, and we know exactly when it's going to hit, and we know when to call that person to make sure that anything's happened. They've done risk analysis, each citizen. We did risk analysis with each citizen. We know the things that might stop them from being able to go forward. And then we call and we talk to them, we work with them, we make sure that things are on point, and we can plan as a collective that way. So all of these tools together, you gain full access to everything. Just bring your people in, they sign up, we target the land, we work with you to develop what you want, we put it together, we talk about all the details, and we execute. We execute. And everything is worked out already. It's not a complicated thing. And then when you go to create your management structure for your property, we don't have no part in that except for as an advisor. We don't take any liberties in taking away from your independent ability to do your thing. You have the documentation that says you are the exclusive owner of your space, and your group loses no rights whatsoever. You just gain access to a larger network. And you do that because we understand that when we work together as a whole, we can get a lot more done. We're a lot bigger bully at the table when we go to get things done, So all of that is there. All of that is part of it right out the box. And it's all integrated. I mean, the coolest thing is even when it comes to people planning, because a lot of folks don't think about this, but when you're talking about moving into the property or moving out to a place like Cargos or Ghana or starting a village somewhere else, a lot of times people don't know like about the economics of it. They built this beautiful Muslim community down in Mexico, and they spent millions on it. And then the whole thing failed because everybody had to go outside to work. They didn't have any idea what the economics of the situation was. We do. We look at our situation and we know our economics look like this, right? We can plan according to people's plans. We take those consolidated numbers. And I can even tell you if a brother decides to open up a grocery store inside of the Freedom Village, that what date he has the opportunity to be profitable at what level per month based on people's current spending habits inside their grocery. These are real spending habits. These people said they want to move in by June 23rd. There's $5,300 a month available for grocery spending in the Freedom Village by June 23rd. And this is really important stuff, understanding, projecting out your population, projecting out people's move-in rates, projecting out all that stuff. You get this out the box as well. So I think it's, I've tried to do the best that I possibly can, and we still are working hard every day to do the best we can so that we can make this a stable, realistic method of us living by moving into these spaces on a local and an international level. And there's one other thing I should mention, just one more thing. We're not light. We're not light. On the political side, we're not light people. We roll with the presidents of the countries, their ambassadors, with their prime ministers, and we negotiate with other tiers of influence necessary to secure our ability in countries. We don't pay nobody corruption money. I know brothers building in Ghana, Senegal, brothers building in Morocco. Everybody's shelling out 50 grand, 70 grand to corruption money to get the guy just to build, to get the permits for one building. We don't pay nobody, nothing. We have it our way. We're not going to involve ourselves in anything we feel is haram. We're not going to do nothing we feel is haram. And you're not going to catch us up in that nonsense. We don't do corruption, but we come in a certain way. We have a certain methodology. It works. We've done it in a lot of countries, and it really works. I've built businesses in several countries. So this is what you benefit. So for the now and the future.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. That's precisely, what we need is sort of that ability to kind of plug in to all of what you've done. And like you said, I've seen a lot of it with my own eyes, and can't wait to get back to Kazakhstan. I love it there, like you were saying. Abdullah loves it there. He's ready to move to Kazakhstan.
Waiting for you, man.
Yeah,
before the grapes start growing on the vines at Coconut.
right. And opportunity abounds there. So this is what we're saying, is that linking up, having a global perspective, not having a limited idea of what we can do. We have to think big, because the opportunities are just that big, and you can't take advantage of them unless you start thinking big. The first thing is that what we're trying to express in our effort here, this project, is that land ownership is the beginning to where we're trying to get to. We really need a base to operate from. We need some place that we can not just call home, but that is home. We can build. We have our masjid. We have our farming, raising our animals, raising our own and growing our own, so that we can, at least to the degree that we're able to, self-sufficiency, as you were saying with the brother with the store, or whatever business you decide to make there, whether you're a seamstress, a tailor, or whatever. How many people are going to, how much business is there for making thobes and making pants and shirts and doing type of works for ourselves within in-house. One of the things, I think one of the first things we're going to reach out to you for, certainly after we go through the details and we're able to present this to our group, to the and we can become citizens. One of the things we're going to need is definitely, once we find the land, and there's some assistance, we've already done a lot of footwork with that. We've collected a lot of information, but certainly we're going to learn some things from your experience, because I think you own a few hundred acres down in Georgia, and you're looking to acquire a few hundred more, as you expand out. And we'll be wanting to ride along with you on this growth and this thing here. So I'm gonna open the floor now for questions. We have a number of people out there who've been listening. I know we have some listening on the live stream, but in the room here, and let me check the live stream to make sure we don't have any questions. But if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to chime in. Brother Hanif, I'm counting on you, because it's our brother Hanif Bashir.
I got a couple of questions, inshallah. I'm just waiting.
Nah, go right ahead. The floor is
Okay,
yours.
all right. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, Faruq. I'm sorry, not Faruq. I can't remember the brother's name.
Farouk.
Farouk.
Oh, it is Faruq. Okay.
Nah,
Yeah.
Farouk.
Okay. So I wanted to ask about Kazakhstan. And you did delve in a little bit about how you were received by the government, but what were your receptions as far as the locals and stuff? I mean, how did they interact and receive you?
I was like Denzel Washington, but he'll tell you how his experience has been. I thought they mistaken me for Denzel, but go ahead, Farouk. Answer the brother's question. Your sound is down. You're muted.
I say, when I
Hey, Farouk, hold up. I told him about when the vehicle broke down. Remember? Next thing we know, we got Farouk's pictures coming. He's in sitting in there with the tow truck driver's fan. Go ahead, you tell it.
I'm gonna tell you here's a preview to it. So I've worked in the CIS countries for quite some time. I've worked in Kosovo, Bosnia. I've worked in Moldova, and early on, you think white people are white people. That's like, I remember when I was 14, I went to Sudan. And I saw these brothers with these big red beards, white as they could be, green as the whole nine. And I remember, I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama. So I was sitting there. I told the brother next to me, I was with a bunch of brothers from Cleveland. And I was like, man, cracker, man, this and that, blah, blah, blah. My immediate response, I have my own experiences. And the brother punched me. And he was like, man, chill out, man. You don't even know what's going on. These different people, man. And so I found out they were Bosnians, right? And they were just cool. I'm talking about they were the best brothers, man. Bosnian cats, not the Bosniaks that make it to US. There's different layers, but this level, man, they were awesome. So, the best way I explain the two stories, we were in Moldova, and they're not even Muslim, but we were in Moldova. We were sitting inside outside corner, me, my wife, my brother Yusuf, and we sitting in the outside cafe. This white boy comes walking down, Moldovan white kid, different, very different. Eastern European, totally different. He's walking down with his earphones on. And he's like, he sees us and he goes, oh, he's oh, and I'm like, yo, what's and so me, I'm like, don't encourage it. My wife is like, go. I'm like, come on now, stop. The thing was, he was so excited to see Black people. He had never seen them in this country before. He had an adoration from what he knew, hip hop or whatever, but then he didn't know like how, he didn't speak good English. So he didn't have a way to explain himself. So he was like, yo, they Black, maybe they understand this. It's like, he didn't, like, he just didn't know. When I came to Kosovo, we had the same situation. I was walking, and me, look, I ain't no skinny dude. And I was with my brother, he ain't no skinny dude. We kind of chunky old dudes, man. And we walking, and we hear, pss, 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 pss. Hello, how are you? I'm like, huh? Sister, you calling us? We ain't the calling type. Ain't no young brothers here. He's like, you just ain't seen us, so you call it out. We went to when we came to Kazakhstan, you get different reactions if you're in Hungary or you're in quite a few places. But here, it's like, bratan, getting a thick photo. Let me get with my family. Yo, assalamu alaikum. Muslim, da, ya Musliman. Alhamdulillah, Musliman. Yeah, go on, yeah. And these cats, they're awesome. They love to fight. They like the fighting type. You know what I mean? They're like dudes who like to be men. They ain't got no, in this society, I'm gonna just say it like it is. If you swinging the other way, dude, they don't let you in the mosque. They don't come do business with you. You can't visit nobody's house. You done. That's not even a thing in the jail, right? Not even in the jail. It's something that happened to you because you raped somebody's mama. That somebody gonna do something to you, and then you gonna deal with the rest of your life like that. They got that kind of stuff. In the streets, my women walk in the streets. They different than everybody, right? Our people, they shape different. They have different assets. These people, you might catch one little kid. I saw one kid do it one time. One teenage kid, he saw a white walk by, and I got mad at my wife. I was like, you know where we at. You know what I'm saying? They don't see that. You messing his head up, you know? But he looked over and he looked back real quick. And he like had to check himself, but he couldn't help it because he hadn't seen it for girls skinning down here. But that was it. 3 years here, no cat calling, no whistling, no staring. And they not no like Saudi type individuals where, you know, it's just whatever. No. The women ain't all, the women are as they are, but there's a deep respect for a person's mother, a person's daughter, and a person's wife. And they don't break it. They don't break it no matter what. No matter whatever they're going through, they don't do that. So there's this essence of the people here. Men are men. They hang out with each other. Like me and Brother Yassine, we go to the sauna. You know, we ate a whole big roasted lamb, sitting up on the table, kicked back with white oak burning in the sauna, you know, jump pool, you know. But that's Kazakhstan, you know, and they love seeing the brother. And what I've been doing is hammering on them. Hey, we bringing black people. We're gonna bring more black people here you ever seen in your life. They come in here. We're gonna bring them here. And we've had a very good reception. I haven't had a negative reception. The only thing that is misinterpreted sometimes Kazakhs, there are only 15 million of them. That's it. It's 15 million Kazakhs on the planet Earth. We can fit them in a couple cities in the US. So they're stringent about like marrying Kazakh. They want their daughters to marry Kazakh because they feel like if they don't, like one generation of just not marrying Kazakh and it'll half in the population of Kazakhs. You know, so they have that mindset coming out of the Russian era, being oppressed so bad. Really oppressed. I'm talking about, when I say oppressed, the Russians came down here, lined up 50,000 imams, clerics, teachers, everything, and shot them in the back of the head. You know what I'm saying? Just shot them in the back of the head. Since then, they've been building mosques. They've been building up their country. They've been building up Islam back in. If you were even seen doing this, or even just this, at your mother's funeral, you were going to jail. That's how much the Kazakh. And then if you were caught with a Quran in your house, the Russians put you in jail and torture you. So all of that, they still held on the Kazakh meant Islam, like Kazakh and Islam were tied together. So they love the idea that we're coming over. They see black people and they see Muslims. It's like, what do I do with that? What do I do with that? Oh, brother, you know, our challenge is that we don't come over here with preconceived notions and bring the drama and trauma from our own spaces that we grew up in to here, because we're shaping their ideas. We're shaping their perception of us.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Good points. Go ahead, Hanif. I think you said you had another question as well, or did you? Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. When it comes to the issue of having a gated community and the interacting with what is it that the government will do for a gated community that they won't do for like a regular community, because I know that a gated community is part of that, is that you get to pretty much live and direct things the way that you want to. But I do believe that comes at a cost as far as what liabilities the local government feels, or what responsibilities the local government feels that they have towards you. So like, how do you work that out? Like, if you know that, for example, we're a gated community, so that means we won't be getting X, Y, and Z from the local government, as opposed to if we weren't a gated community. Is it better to go in that direction versus not? Or what was that discussion about when you guys had to make that choice? Or was it always like you knew, for example, that you guys were going to be a gated community, and the amenities and the benefit not being a gated community wasn't something that really was an issue for you?
So, brother Hanif, let me ask you a question. Have you lived in the where are you from?
I live in Ohio, Cleveland.
Oh, you from Cleveland? Yeah. So by the way, when I said the brothers from Cleveland, me in Sudan, that was Imam Dawood Shabazz I was over with from TISO.
I've heard about him. I heard about him from Imam Mutawaf.
Yeah, Imam Mutawaf is a good people, man. That's my father knew Imam Mutawaf well. So if you see Imam Mutawaf, give him my salams. Tell him Imam Abdul Kareem's son says Assalamu alaikum. But no, I was over at that community with we went to Sudan together, Sister Hasina and Imam Dawood Shabazz. That was us. But I asked you that for a reason because have you ever lived in the country? Like, have you ever lived down south?
No.
So I grew up in Tuskegee, Alabama, which, small town, everything else. Tuskegee doesn't even have its own fire department. The VA built the fire department at the VA and loans it to the city at their expense. The trash organization there's no city-owned trash company. It's all private owned, and you have to go through a lot to get it in. Internet service is non-existent. You might get a telephone line. And the moment that you, like, I grew up on 45 acres of land. That's our family's land, all of it. And the moment that you decide that you want to, like, from the front of the property, you want to say, I want electricity or water, they drop the meter and the electricity line at the top of the land. Now you can help pay them to get your electricity back and get your water back. But when the pipes freeze and burst or whatever, all my life as a kid, we had to go out and dig up those pipes ourselves and fix pipes. I grew up that way. My family on the land, stuff like that. My father made a silly decision in the beginning by not digging the hole deep enough for the pipes. And, he regretted it horribly later on, because my father built our house. Him and a brother named Musa, they got together, built our house that we lived in. So I've actually been through this experience in my own life. This is my life. This is not like just something we decided to do. The police, they will provide you service if you call them, because even if you call them in your house, they come into your house. So they come into private property, but you have to let them come in. You have to give them that permission to come in, except for the front door ain't the front door, it's the gate. But once they enter the gate, they enter the gate. So the fire department will come into your house and put out a fire. So if there's a fire department, it will come out to you and put out your fire as you let them in the gate. It's an emergency that'll happen. When you look at, it's not the gated, non-gated that creates the mentality and the attitude. One is a legal ramification, but more than legal, it's more than legal. It's the economy. So when you're dealing with the economics, you should look up Hancock County, pick up their Wikipedia page, look over on the right-hand side and look at that thing about population growth. And you'll see it. Every single year, 6%, 8%, 10%, 7%, for 60 years, leaving the city, leaving the county. The county has just been abandoned constantly. When your county is abandoned in a state, you risk your county being dissolved. So they will legally dissolve your charter and then take your county and chop it into pieces and give it to the neighboring counties as a part of their extension, and dissolve your commissioner, dissolve the commissioner's board, and dissolve your services of the county. So Hancock County is at risk of that. They've only got like 8,000 people about 7,000 people in the whole county. We're talking about a county, not a city. There's only like 2-3 cities in the county, and they ain't that big. The biggest one is 1.8 square miles. You go 1.8 square miles, you drive that way, this way, mile and a half, you're done with the city. You know, old jokes. You know, I rode through your city the other day, but I dropped something on the floor. It said welcome, and then I picked it up and looked back up, and it said leaving. I said, oh hell. So it's that kind of place. But the county is 412 square miles. So you got a lot more county than you do city, and it's unincorporated, which means the county is taking on the services directly. County is not built to do that. So whenever you start to build a mass population in a single area, they need you to develop some of your own services in order to get things done. So, you know, water, electricity, whatever, that's all independent. Georgia Power, almost everyone has well water. But internet, you know, we got AT&T to stretch 17 miles of fiber optic to a property so that we could then set it up. They don't have our capacity internet in the entire county. We're the only ones, right? So except for the high school does, right? But this is, you know, it's not, the attitude isn't derived around you being a gated community. It's derived around the economic benefit you provide. So as you start to provide the economic benefit and grow the population, and you're turning the numbers around, I'll tell you what was said to me. I'll tell you exactly what was said to me. His name is Mr. Edwards. He's the head of the economic development for Hancock County. We were talking on a conversation, and we had Commissioner Reed and a couple other people on the board for fiber optics there. There was a board for broadband services from the county. His exact words were, brother, you don't need to just walk in here. You deserve for us to compete for you to come here. Just like any other major organization that comes and improves the economic position of a county, we deserve to compete for you. So you need to give us a list of demands. This was their suggestion, not mine. Mine was, I don't want to ruffle the feathers, let's make it easy as possible and let's get it in. They were saying, no, tell me what you want. We about to redo the zoning, we redo everything. Tell me what you want. We putting it on the table because y'all are important. But that's just because we're changing the population statistics, we're changing economic statistics, we're changing the amount of single family homes, living spaces and commercial spaces inside the county, and changing the revenue of the county. That speaks volumes.
Jazakallah khair.
Afwan. And I'll let you know that that's the same logic we use internationally. We understand economic development, and we hit those triggers. And when we hit those triggers, we speak that language, and we don't even talk about ideas and dreams and whatever. We just talk numbers, and we hit the numbers on the head, and we know what their KPIs are built around, and we know how to trigger those KPIs to justify why we're somebody you want around.
Okay, I have one more question, inshallah. When you talk about your studies and going to different cities and seeing how they're able to sustain themselves and build and grow, you mentioned that there's an entity or a body that's needed to kind of like look and take care of those needs, those aspects, those elements that the community needs in order to sustain itself and grow. And you said that you have that third community, but I was just thinking like, okay, when you visited those cities that you studied, what would be the equivalent to that to them? What do they have in place to make sure that the community or the town, whatever it is, that they survive, they strive, they grow? I mean, what is that?
So basically, management of communities comes at multiple levels. I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'll show you another group that we still have a lot of dealings with for learning purposes more than anything else at this point. So a lot of these communities, like for example, I'm going to use this as an example. The Global Eco Villages Network tracks about 2,000 communities that are under GEN. GEN has a office and a seat at the United Nations building in Vienna and in New York. Old white guy runs it. He's a pretty cool dude. We sat down and had breakfast together in Morocco.
Hey man, who's doing that?
There's a little feedback.
Is it back feeding? Is that us? My mic is off, so it shouldn't be me.
My mic off too.
I think you just have to mute. If everyone mutes, it'll go away.
Mine is muted.
I think it's brother Atif and sister Khadija. So this is the shukran. This is the like this body sits as a large body, right? They have tons of eco villages underneath their body. They don't even get into the concept. This is all the eco villages registered under Jinn, right? And they're everywhere. I mean, like you can go down here. This is Otterville down here, I believe, in Pondicherry. Right. This is one of the places we went to learn Otterville. Yeah. So that's Otterville. That's actually the actual place. They built this place. When you guys built this, it's the Mataramanda. So they don't get into the individual. This is where we learned how to do earth and brick. They don't get into the individual management of these villages and these eco villages. They don't at all touch it. They touch the international conversation around eco villages as a whole. So there's a negotiation going down about international recognition of eco villages as an official method to actually be able to develop populations that can be productive in society towards combating things like climate change and so forth and so on. So I was at the climate change conference at the UN, COP22 in Marrakesh, when we were presenting Freedom Nation and they were presenting Jinn. And so, you know, that body as a large body, but then each one has their own body, right? So like, for instance, Otterville, I don't agree with Otterville's body at all. I think it's the worst. They have a complete concession model, which is psychotic. Everybody has to agree on every decision. Everybody, not democratic, concession. They literally, 52 people at the table, you got to get 52 yeses. And one of the things I did is I talked with one of the original people, and she said that was the most stupidest mistake we made. She said we wanted to make everybody happy. We were hippies. And the thing about it is it slowed our process down. We didn't build. This place is 2,000 acres. All this green you see used to look like this when they started back in 1960. It literally was like this. They literally planted every single tree you see. That's all lemon, 100%. And so they were good at planting trees. They found out the only success that they could have is if one person said, look, tell you what, screw this, I'm gonna do my thing right here. I think we need it, I'm just gonna do it. Then they would be successful. You know, they got a big place called the Otterville Solar Kitchen. And it's awesome. You pay $40 a month in the solar kitchen. Yeah, here it goes. You pay $40 in the solar kitchen, a big satellite on top, and the big satellite cooks all the food. The satellite comes in with the rays of sun and it channels it in and it cooks the food. I'm turning this down. But this is an awesome place. It's built with earth brick. The whole thing is built with earth brick. And it just makes sense. When you come there to eat, the motorcycles are lined up in a row down the street, all the way down the street from everybody to eat. $40, 3 meals, big plates of food, huge plates of food every single time. You know, we hung out there more than one lot. You know, that's how I taught my brother and my son how to ride a motorcycle. We all have motorcycles. We were sitting at Arville, and I told him, I said, listen here, if you don't learn to ride that motorcycle in 5 minutes, I'm gonna go to the place. Y'all don't know how to get there. I'll see y'all later. Y'all ain't gonna eat. And so they figured it out. Look at the big old plates of food, $40 a month. And the way it was built was that a husband and a wife just said, forget it. We can't get y'all to agree on nothing. We got that piece of land. We're going to build it and give it back to everybody else. That's how they built it. Because the consensus model was so slow, so slow. So there's that. I've seen other models that have a democratic model. I've seen some models that have a mayor. I've seen some models that have this and that. These are all hippies. Arville is just hippie central. But they have the Earth Institute. That's what we went there for. And it was a good learning model. It was a good learning. They cook everything with the big solar panel. but everything is different. So you have to make up your mind. Now, even at Freedom Village 1, we're helping create the village council. And we were a part of it. We told them, hey, say, elect a special council, 5 people, let them go out and bring you back how you vote, how many seats you have, who sits in those seats, what term they serve, blah, 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 how to make decisions, what power the council has, what power the council mayor has, what power the people have, meaning that you have to, like, if you make a decision about this, you've got to get the people involved. There's some legal requirements in the state of Georgia where you have to do certain things according to the condominium act. We chose a condominium model. We have to do certain things. We have to provide insurance for everybody on the property. We have to do other collective things. And based on that, we need a collective body to make decisions. So the council will come, present to the citizens will vote, they'll decide a resolution, and then they'll hold a voting process. We'll facilitate that for them. And then they'll go ahead and start the first meeting of the village council and run after that using, my suggestion is using Robert's order, laws of order, when it comes to maintaining those meetings and stuff like that. So it's different. That's all I'm saying. But we're here to advise. We're here to help you structure what it is. We're here to help to share all these different models with you and analyze what might work best for your group.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because you mentioned you guys chose the condominium model, right? And so the options, which one will work best? Because what we're trying to do is, although with similar goals in mind, the approach is a little different, and so understanding that there's some things that we're going to need to tweak in order to make it work for our effort, what we're trying to do, because it's not, in our case, it's not a number of families buying individual properties. It's the families collectively buying a piece of property and then navigating our way forth to build houses. Say if we get 80 acres, maybe 35 acres of that will be used for home sites and the masjid and recreation area, those living areas. And the other, say 45 acres will be used for little farming, some agriculture, and other revenue building projects, which could mean we throw up a steel building and we're doing manufacturing, cottage industry. We have people who make soaps. We have people who making soaps and shampoos, etc., making, things that we can sell that will bring revenue in and make the citizens of the community independent. I don't have to leave the community in order to make my money, right? We're looking at training, doing boot camps, IT boot camps. We're looking, as we build, having apprenticeship programs for carpenters and plumbers, electricians, etc., and taking advantage of possible government programs where I know there used to be where they paid 2/3 of the apprentice's salary if you had certain type of a setup. And so there's some things we want to do like that. So as far as moving forward, I know you're gonna point something out, and I just want to state for everyone here, one of the things that we ran a poll on in our group, and 50% of the people supported, openly said, I like this idea. I support the project. We had 42% who said, I have some questions. I'd like to I have more questions. I'd like more information. I'd like more information so I can determine whether I'm in or I'm out. So people are looking for information. So I'm going to say here, even if it's not your question, but you think there's a legitimate question that can be asked that might serve someone else's edification, please don't hesitate to ask it. I know our brother Faruq is pulling as much information as he can, and our brother Hanif, Jazakallah khair for your questions, but we're going to move forward. Go ahead, Faruq. I know you're getting ready to present something.
I'm just kind of throwing through it, like, one of the things is our economic model that we built We modeled it after the NAICS codes.
Okay.
This idea of how the United States actually tracks, through the census, who makes what, how much is there, what jobs are available, blah, 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 basically understanding how the economy works and how to circle it back in. We have the
Right.
same methodology. And that's why
Right.
we have other realistic numbers that we plug in. So we have the projected numbers, we have estimated numbers, projected numbers, and then we have, of course, our real numbers and tracking the impact internally, like understanding, for instance, how many houses we built and understand what goes into the houses, right? Structural, cabinetry, heating, cooling, lighting fixtures, flooring, tile, labor, everything else, and then breaking down who does those different parts and which parts are outsourced, understanding percentage and breakdowns of the money, everything else, so that you know where to put your finger, what should I be focusing on? What things should we be solving immediately? What will generate the most profit and put it back into the hands of the people with inside of the space so that we can regenerate that and have it in the loop. And then what's our leakage? How much of our spend will leak out of the community, and how do we close those gaps? For us, it's those things that are constantly like just too small, so there's just not enough money in each one to completely sustain an individual over a 10-year period. And so we have to outsource it, right? So just like that, I'm just going to reinforce your point and double down on it, that it's something that we constantly track. We use all the tools and the data to track that constantly and keep in touch with everybody. And, we're trying to manage a great city from day one, and then make it so that the citizens and initiatives, like your initiative comes in, you don't have to put so much energy on, well, how do I set up that data? Which software do I use? How do we get the people to involve themselves? How do we contact? How do we track that? No, look, tell the staff, give me my reports. You're a project management organization, give me the reports. You're supposed to have it. If you're worth your snuff, you got them. And we do have them. We have that data in real time. That was all.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Vera. But Yassine, I think your mic is out too, by the way.
Go ahead, sister.
I understand that you are building houses with bricks, using bricks as the framework. And I would like to know, how long does that take to build a home using that method? And where did the designs come from for that?
So as far as time is concerned, it of course depends on the design, right? You have some lead time that you need to put into providing the materials, which is 2 to 3 months. And then once you provide the materials, because once you develop the materials, because we make them from the things that are on site. Excuse me. We use a interlocking block methodology, and we reinforce the interlocking block with rebar and some cement in certain strategic places. We design all of our own designs. So we design everything that the city or the state might need in order to get the house built. I could even I can share with you one that we're working on right now. It uses our brick. We're literally working on it. But in this case, they're forcing us to use some other structural elements within it because of the height of the building. So we had to actually, where is it at? I can show it to you down here, right there. So we actually had to reinforce our brick with structural columns and rebar. And then we had to use wood flooring and then wood roofing and everything else inside of this structure. But this is all internal design, down to every single piece of wood, every single piece of lumber, every holdback, every tie, everything is done 100% by us. The design, and we think through a lot as we do the design. Like we think through what is it that we're building, the best use of our materials, the way to reduce costs in the structure. We think about pigments, paints. We think about all of the lighting and plumbing fixtures. We think about, we think about every single segment, and we think about how our brick plays a role in that. In this case, the brick is the outer facade. It's a facade material. So we're
Right.
getting by making it a facade material. We also think about, how do we do placement of piping? How do we deal with, like you see here, our heating piping and all this kind of stuff? And, how do we use the brick to cover up things? You have a brick wall, you don't want to cut through it like you would sheetrock in order to lay out another pipe or something. So, how do you do that? And what are the considerations and everything else? So we get deep. So typically, if it's a custom design that you want, then the design process can take 3 to 6 months, and that's real. Typically, we take a very small amount for the design process in comparison to what another organization might charge. Typically, like for example, this design, even here in Kazakhstan, the market rate for doing this design and putting in the level of detail and everything else was $65,000 for this complex. We did it in-house. I think we shelled out our consultants maybe $5,000. So when we design a house, we charge for a basic flat rate for citizens, like $2,500 to do your designs and layouts, and then present them to the building commissioner. And then we give you that $2,500 back when you order your building materials, and we make the building materials based on request. And we give you that as a credit towards the down payment, and then we give you halal financing for 10 years after you pay 15% to 20% for your building materials. And then we include everything. So we'll do the brick, the sinks, the floors, everything, all the wood, the timber, everything is included inside of the package. We do a building kit.
Do you do
So-
basement in ground?
You can do a basement and ground, no problem. That's nothing but just digging out the area and providing the proper reinforcements for the ground. The brick, when we lay the brick down to do the basement and ground, we put a sealant on the outside of the brick, and the sealant is a waterproof sealant to make sure that you don't have any leakages or any other problems on the exterior. We can also backfill the space between the earth and the walls with other things that allow for extended insulation and other things. I mean, even in this case, in this place, we didn't feel like proving to the authority the value of the thermal conductivity of the brick. So we put, you can see it, we put, you can see the structure of the wall that we put, let's see, what is it? This poly, so current, whatever the heck, insulation. We put almost a foot of it in the wall, so that we also were thinking about the privacy of each individual, and we want the acoustics to be good. So basically, I joke about this particular building. I say that, you could shoot your husband in one of the apartments and the guy next door wouldn't know to call the police. So it's
Terrible.
but that's just a joke, but the point is that we designed it to the hilt, and if it's something that we can pull off the shelf, it's shorter design period. If it's something that we have to custom design, then we go through the design process with you and walk you through it. And like I said, the custom design process for a building and getting a structural engineer to sign off on a structure using these materials, I'm telling you, you fish around, 50 grand is the minimum that you'll pay. You can get something off of eplans.com or something like that, but those plans are just starter plans. You still got to put another 10 grand, 15 grand on top of them to customize into the materials and things you want to use.
Do you have buildings already built on the property in Georgia?
In Georgia, we're just starting that community, and everyone is starting the process of purchasing and planning. We have 2 different custom homes in planning right now that we're working on, and for people who want to build. So we're in the process of doing that. We just finished the last sale of the properties to all the different individuals. It concluded in January of this year. So we're now just building out their houses and stuff like that. We have places that we've built in other places. We built in Morocco, and we built alongside with our teachers and stuff as a part of our building in India. And we built along with the manufacturer of material down in Campo Grande in Brazil. And we have those images and pictures, but to walk through. No, the earthen structures, we typically work with a guy named Jim Holland. If you look up CSEB and you are doing a search online for compressed stabilized earth block, you'll come across Jim. He's this long-haired white guy. He's down in San Antonio, and we work with him. He's built a lot of structures. So typically we send people down to Jim if they want to walk through a building and see what it looks like.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, brother.
Welcome.
Yeah, one of the things that in terms of what we're doing on the, inshallah, on the property where we are, and one of the things is to make sure we can build certain types of homes there. Our plan is probably the first house we want to build, it will be a community project, something that will be like a guest house, and that would be probably a cob house. We're also looking at possibly throwing up a stick frame or a pole barn house. We're looking at building a few different types of construction there. So the type of construction we're considering, and hopefully one of the things is we want to have the liberty to do that, whether it is a um, putting together, what do they call them, Farouk? Maybe Rashid, please hop in if you feel free to hop in, because we're also looking at a project down, possibly at least consulting on a project down in South Carolina. If you feel free to speak about that, you're definitely welcome. But
Malak, I wanted to know if the construction company that is going to do the work in Georgia will also do work in other places.
So right now, what we've done with this is we've figured that there's enough that needs to be done, that we should just focus on the individuals and organizations working underneath the Freedom Nation citizen structure. So, you know, I will tell you out the box that one of the things that we ask people to do if they're working underneath the structure is to concentrate their efforts to a particular space.
right.
You know, it doesn't do us any good, not Freedom Nation, I'm talking about all of us.
Right.
You know, that you isolate yourself in a county, we isolate ourselves in a county, you won't get anywhere with that. Like you'll find some abilities for a quick second, and then you'll just be bombarded with the problems of being a singular force. But when you're a collective force, even doing your own thing, doing your own thing, but just the fact that we're bonded under this singular idea of wanting to create our own spaces, and we do it in the place that has the proper dynamics, like Hancock County, we gain force. When your group moves in, our group moves in, you go up to 150, 200 in number. You know, we pull in other groups, we go 300. We've already got they didn't come in through us, they came in on their own. We're on the north side of the county. On the south side of the county, we got the boys in Goshen. There's the Hebrew Israelites down there, you know, brothers doing their thing down there. They don't agree with us religiously, but they absolutely agree with our idea of creating your own space.
Right.
And so that one of the brothers there is on the city council of the city in Sparta. You know, we want to work with him to do things, you know, and yeah, he definitely works for, he got 50, I think he got 12 kids, 2 wives, you know, the whole thing, you know, like he definitely on the path, and there's only like 4 people on the city council. He's one of them. So, you know, it doesn't make sense to split ourselves up and to split our efforts. And every time we go to take those machines and stuff somewhere else, we have a decent investment. It's a real investment. We have heavy equipment that we've purchased and put out there. It ain't easy to move, and it ain't cheap. So, you know, we don't even get the opportunity to take advantage of the benefits of scale if we do that. So yes, we will build elsewhere. Yes, the construction company works out of San Diego. They're willing to work anywhere. However, it will be a lot more expensive because you just don't have the economies of scale working for you, and you don't have those benefits working in your favor.
Let me interject and say that, you know, we have skills all over. You know, they're Muslims. Myself, I have 25 years in the construction industry. We have another brother, Brother Rashid. He is a licensed builder and developer. We have brothers who are working at the level of framing carpenters. They're framing out houses in all of these places, whether it's in the DMV, the District, Maryland, Virginia area, up north, New Jersey, Philadelphia, North Carolina, what have you, Georgia, what have you. But we have people who are brick masons, cement. They build, you know, work with cement. They're cement finishers or whatever. So the skills are out there. It's just a matter. And one of the things that we said we're trying to do is to have under our project a number of skills. For instance, as I mentioned, we have a brother. He is a licensed general contractor and builder, developer. We have brothers who are licensed, plumbers, master carpenters. So we bring a lot of skills in. But one of the things, if you heard me earlier, I mentioned about having an apprenticeship program because we need to grow those skills. And one of the projects I was doing when I was in New York, and that is that I worked with a company that were taking over buildings and from the city. And one of the things we learned is that it's a federal program, every state has it, where they have apprenticeship programs that they actually pay. So if you have a licensed electrical contractor, for instance, and we do within the Muslim community right here in this area, I know of at least three um, who is on your project, he's part of it. They can come on and they can pull all the necessary licenses if need be, but they can also set up a team and train up and coming electricians, plumbers, carpenters, etc. Right? Sheetrock, learning how to hang and finish sheetrock. So there are a lot of skills that part of what we want to do is not just rely on a group to do that for us. We want to develop those capabilities within ourselves, within an area. And certainly, as we grow, there'll be deployments out of Atlanta or out of San Francisco or out of the DC area or Pennsylvania or Ohio, what have you, where we have people who are there and they can go and do. I think there's a video in our group. 6 guys framed out I think it was about a 1,400 square foot house, framed it out with the roof and siding on it in 8 hours. 6 guys, 3 professional framing carpenters and 3 helping hands. Just imagine. And as I was joking, I said, those guys are good. And I've worked in the construction industry. I used to watch a team of guys come onto the scene, and it was like 8 or 10 of them, and they would frame out a house pretty much in a single day and come back the next day and finish it off. And then there's another team that would come in and put on the roof, another team that would come up and put on the siding, the brick facade, and what have you. So as you watch, if you ever watch a house come into existence when they're building it, you'll see all of these different trades that are coordinated by the project manager. All of these things are going on, and the skills exist. They're not isolated in a particular area or under certain people. We literally, as Muslims, we have so many skills right amongst us in our community. We can build. We have nation building skills in terms of building buildings, homes, commercial, residential, in terms of, as the brother mentioned earlier, and he has a background, which he didn't mention, in information technology, IT. He has significant background in knowledge in that area. So we have people who have these multiple skills within our community. I myself, as I mentioned, about 25 years in construction and project management, as well as 20 years now in information technology as a telecommunications engineer. So we don't have to really look far to find it. It's just a matter of finding people who see this, who have the vision that we have and can say, you know what, as we have, people say, I want to be part of that. I've been wanting to do this for years, 20 years, 30 years. People are going back saying, I thought about this idea 30 years ago. I wanted to do this. But it's easier for us as a collective to do it than a single individual. And I'll give you a very brief story. There was a brother, good friend of mine, I met when I first became Muslim back in 1978. This brother owned 110 acres of land in West Virginia. And we used to go up there and hunt, you know, and he had that land. But because it was his land and we weren't thinking in a larger scale back then, right? How can I take this 110 acres and create a community and build? Well, he gradually had to relinquish that land, right? To the point where he actually has nothing today, right? And but if you go there to that land, you see whole communities are built on that land. He had a stream back in 78 that had been tested, and he could have bottled spring water and sold it right from his spring. It was that quality. And but back then, people would look at you crazy because you were buying water at the health food store, at the co-op, at the local co-op. Why are you buying water? We could get it right out of the faucet. So now you see bottled water is a tens of $1 billion, if not hundreds of $1 billion, but certainly tens of billions of dollar market globally. And just here in the States, I'm sure it's probably close to 1 billion or somewhere in that order, certainly many hundreds of millions. But anyway, the point is this, and that I want to say is that if unless we recognize who we have, and this is one of the things I used to say, you look out into the masjid, you're at the masjid for Salatul Juma. You look out, there are 2, 3, 4, 500 brothers sitting out there, but we don't know who is sitting out there. We don't know the skills. And I used to always say, and it's still true to this day, there should be a database so that I know if I need a service, if I need a plumber. Well, we got a half a dozen brothers in this community that are plumbers, and 2 of them are licensed, certified and licensed plumbers, electricians, every trade. It's the same thing. Multiple builders.
We need Muslim yellow pages.
Yeah, well, you know, that was an attempt. There was something like that back in the 80s, I remember. But I'm talking about something that is similar to a yellow pages, but this is more concentrated in terms of, so I'm here, for instance, Dar Hijra, here in Masjid in Virginia. I think they have about 2,000 people attend Juma there well, you know, in the normal times. The community there consists of probably 10 or 15,000 Muslims, if not more. But they don't know who to call. I need a mechanic. I need a mobile mechanic. I need my car towed. I need my sink unstopped. I need my screen door was just blown off by the wind, which I'm sure a few people in this area suffered, you know, stuff happening, the wind blowing shingles off of the roof. Who do I call? Well, I got to call someone who's going to take the money outside of the community. And that's one of the things that Faruq was talking about earlier, which is so key when you're building community. And that is having the ability to cycle that money, to let that money circulate within our community a few times before it has to go out. And the more services that we're able to provide, as he was saying, the grocery store, the electrician, the electricity for that community will be run by members of the community, the water, everything. Isn't that right? Speak a little bit on that, Faruq, please, before you close out on this. But I want us to understand, when we come together as a collective, the opportunities that are created just by being a collective like that. And normally we don't think in those terms. We still want to go to the shop mart to get our food. We still want to go to, you know, we still rely on Con Edison or whoever for our electricity and so forth. WSSC for our water. Go ahead, Faruq, please.
We one of the presentations we have it online. It's a video that talks about this circular economy methodology and the circular flow economy. And, you know, every circular economy has some leakage because you have something that needs to go out. But, you know, the way the loop works, and I'll zoom out here so you can see it. The way the loop works is, you know, you go down this path of figuring out who does what, and you split all that down. You figure out how it comes back in. And then once you understand where it comes back in, you understand your leakage and you understand what goes back in. And a lot of folks don't understand welfare has nothing to do with just simply making money. You know, there's some collective concepts that people don't think about. You know, you have a property that has 100 trees on it, and you buy that property for, let's just say $100, right? Those are trees. But the moment that you say that someone on the property is going to put in what might be $1,000 per tree to get the lumber out, right? You have $1,000 I pay to that guy. And then it goes through the circle, right? That $1,000 comes back around through, once the guy who owns the trees pays for his house, pays for his food, pays whatever, and then someone else comes back and buys another $1,000 of trees. Now, you would say to yourself, there's only $1,000 circling around, but that's not true, because money is an enabler of GDP. It's an enabler of actual growth of the finished goods that are there. So every time you access one of those trees, the tree goes down, $1,000 of lumber becomes a $10,000 house. You facilitate this many things, this and that, and you increase with $1,000 in, $1,000, and have it circle around. You can create millions and millions and millions of dollars of worth, right? Because money has always and is only a tool to activate the development and refinement of natural materials into usable goods. That is all it's ever been. And we value a space based on the value of the collective usable goods,
Right.
not based on how much money is there. You have only 860 billion US dollars in liquid capital that's available to the United States at any given time, right? 1.2 trillion, but half of it's outside the US. But we maintain a $72 trillion GDP. And except for COVID, with a 3% increase every single year, which, except for COVID years, should outdo inflation. You know, inflation by 1%, you got to increase the GDP 3%, you know, you have a country that's growing. So we have to start thinking like that. That's number one. That's that idea of how economies work. I'm just going to give you the beginning of it. You know, our methodology now, we're working towards a 500 families in the Freedom Families. That's collective groups, that's individuals, different sizes, but so forth and so on. That's a household on average makes $100,000, then it's 50 million. Some houses say, I don't make $100,000. Yeah, I know you don't, brother, but the brother and sister out there living in a little 2-bedroom house in California do, because it costs that much just to live in California. And another brother up in New York is doing it, you know, so forth and so on. So they outbalance each other. This is something that people have to be aware of. It's like how people spend their money. You always have, like, you know, a lot of us don't think about this, but everyone who makes up to $500,000 a year in the United States spends the money the exact same way. 29% on housing, 9% on grocery, blah, blah, blah. You might have some small variances, but this is typically what it is. So what we did is we split it up. We understand what parts are what based on the amount of money that go minus the leakage, only capturing 80% of that spend. And then we track it. We say, okay, in order to do the housing, we have 14.5 million, 500 families will spend $14.5 million on housing over the course of the 10 years to move into the land. $4.5 million is going to be spent holistically on labor. Who's going to earn that money, right? And then we're very specific. Brother Prince Muhammad, the general contractor who has VMP Corporation, is earning that money. And there's a double way commitment. On one side, we say, we're going to go to Brother Prince. On the other side, we say, Brother Prince, you cannot fail us. So if we have made the commitment to you and we make a suggestion because your service is not fast enough, because it's not professional enough, then you must make those modifications, right? So we're shaping the businesses to be better, at the same way facilitating them go, and the money is inside. It stays inside of the structure and you can see it come back, right? And that's the whole point, because Brother Prince is going to have to pay for transportation services, waste while he's building your building. He's going to pay for utilities for his machines. He's going to have to do things to run the software, to manage the product. He's going to have to pay for heavy machines and stuff like that. And all of that's going to find its way back into things that other people can do now. You committed to give your money to Brother Prince, and now Brother Prince committed to do the same thing. And that's, you know, there's people right now who say, I never thought about running trash. We said, well, we got $200,000 a year for anyone who runs a trash business. I mean, not a year, over the course of 10 years. Oh, no, it's annual. I'm sorry, it's annual. We got that there for you annually, as long as you run the trash business. At its height, that's where we can get you to. You say, okay, I'll start a truck. I got a truck now. I'll just throw the bags in the back of the truck. Well, we can give you a site where you can burn it, or we give you a site where you can process it this way. If you want to burn it, we'll burn it. We'll ask you to separate the trash, burn the trash, compost the rest, and then you can sell the compost back to the village for growth and stuff. And it's real. It's not like theoretical or in your mind. It's real. We put real names to it. We work out the process. That's why we act as the project manager, because we want to make sure we facilitate it. When a citizen complains about a service not being up to par, we are the project manager for that service too. So we go to that brother and say, brother, okay, step up, right? We're going to use the proper software. We use proper process. We're going to put our administrative staff behind you, things that you wouldn't have had in your business. You didn't have that before, but we do it so that we have good services, and, we'll connect you with our billing software and blah, 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 blah. So all of that's included. But needless to say, it's extending the answer to a single question. And I know the question was just about building in other places, but I guess this is just double downing on the reality and necessity to consolidate your efforts. Like Sun Tzu said, that once you identify your goal, and then you identify someone who's there to help you achieve that goal, that person has a responsibility to consolidate those individuals in order to be successful.
Right. Now, Jazakallah khair, I appreciate your coming and joining us today. I'm not sure if anyone else has any other questions or comments that they'd like to make. But before I ask you to close out in terms of what your final remarks and advice might be, I simply want to say that what we're doing with this project is complemented. As the brother mentioned earlier, these types of things have been going on for not generations, but actually probably several hundred years just here in America, where we've been trying to find opportunity to build our own environment, to govern ourselves. And if you look back on the founding of America, of the United States, as we know it today, that's kind of how it started, the pilgrims, as they called them, right? So we want to be, pilgrims in the sense that we want to build a community that we own, that we control, that we can unite with other groups like that, like the Freedom Nation, Al Andalus, and other projects in upper state New York and in Mississippi, and there's some in Alabama, there's some out west. So there are communities, Muslims, who are doing this all over. We just can link up. And I think the brother Sharif mentioned what is it, the National Muslim Homesteaders Association, or something along that line, that we're hoping to participate and to connect with them. So we want to connect and learn lessons from as many, similar projects. They're not going to be the same, because I think out of this model, there are many. There's the Freedom Nation has a model of its own that they're developing. The Al Andalus, they have a model, and every project. Our model is we want to establish a village first, to show that we can do this in the environment and become, to some degree, self-sufficient. I looked at what Faruq is doing. I learned a lot when I went down to visit. I saw you making bricks. And I went and looked, how much does a machine cost? Of course, we would consult with Faruq, because he's got one. He did the research. He went and traveled around, and he spent money that we all have to spend if we just get his advice. Okay, what's the best machine? If we want to make brick and interlocking brick for our projects on our land, what do we have to do? He doesn't have to ship that piece of machinery up here to us, because then he denies it of his people down there who are going to be, he's got a 500 family project that he's building, and we have right now for this project here 25 families. But we intend to grow. And so we'll have a second machine so that when we're it's sitting there, and maybe there's a project in another city, another state, another county that says, hey, we need to do some bricks, so we can send it to them and let them use it, for their project. And the same thing goes with the wood milling. I said we want lumber, that we want timber that we can turn into lumber. I know when we were down there in Georgia, we were sitting in the car, and Faruq had pointed out to us, or they had the clear cut, and then they had the select lumber that people were going in. But basically, that truck, how much did you say? I think you said that one truck of lumber had about $50,000, $60,000 worth of lumber right there going to the mill, right? And so when you have land, and you have the machinery, I put the piece in there, video of a couple of three of them that we can take and turn those trees, turn that lumber, 18-inch, 22-inch, or whatever, larger trees, into planks, 2x4s, to structural support beams, 4x4s, 8x8s, 10x10s, or whatever. Um, and you can do it right there, and you can use the byproduct. Someone was mentioning, I think Sharif was mentioning, how they use sawdust, and they have sort of, it's not a septic system, but it replaces the septic system, but you need sawdust in order to make it work. I don't know much about it because I haven't used that, but we won't have to buy sawdust. We'll be making our own. But anyway, I just wanted to say that we want to build and be as self-sufficient as we can, and gradually become increasingly self-sufficient as we build more, as we learn ways to keep uh, that money, or the wealth within the community circulating, as we create projects that, or investment that can build, like the indoor farming project that I was thinking of, or the cottage industry project, where people who are making soaps and making shampoos, or making whatever it is they make. You can do it, and be part of that cottage industry that we can build, that allow money to be made right on the property, and have it, you ship things out and money comes to your account. Anyway, go ahead, Faruq. If there's no one else that has anything they want to add, I'm just going to ask you to say a few final words, and words of advice, and what have you, if you can.
No, shukran for having me. Shukran for letting me talk to your group. The task that you're trying is a noble task, but don't underestimate the amount of work that's involved, and what it'll pull from you. It's a lot. It's not a little bit. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. And there's a lot of hidden twists and things. We're here to assist. This is, inshallah, this is what I want to. This is what I want to barter with Allah for His mercy. On Yawm Al-Qiyamah. I want to barter that. My life was spent helping people get into spaces where they could, serve His purpose without intervention from other people. That is my single and sole goal on the planet Earth. And then whenever Allah wants me to stop, He'll take me. But there's a lot of sincerity in the desire to help, and there's a lot of sincerity in telling you about the things that are involved. And I am going to make an open invitation. I know that you have a lot of considerations about where you're moving and where you want to purchase land. I am going to double down on my invitation for you to purchase land inside of Hancock County. And the way that process would start is real simple. You just tell us you're ready, right? Just tell us you're ready. And we can also take a huge edge off the financial burden of that, as far as spreading it out the way you have to pay for it. But no riba, no interest, no borrowing from anybody, and all of that stuff that will hog tie you and hurt you later on, not just in this life in your project, but also in the Akira as well. So we want to make sure we do things in a way that makes Allah happy, so that He blesses our efforts, because there's so many hidden pieces to the whole thing. So shukran brother, we speak to you. Like I said, it would just start by just saying you're ready. Then we start getting people registered as citizens, and we start looking for your property, and we start having real detailed conversations about getting things done. We're go people. So this is the conversation. After this, we go. We
No,
go.
no.
So inshallah, may Allah bless you, brother Yassine, for your efforts and your time putting together people. Y'all know if you saw my dedication to you the other day, I honored you as a grand pioneer.
No, someone did mention that to me on one of the calls. They said, you were recognized. I was like, what?
Yeah, recognize you as one of our grand pioneers, and that means that we appreciate your opinions and your I keep on calling on your expertise, and I think that there's a humongous value to the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, like, I'm glad I'm around Muslims. Like it says, Allah said in the Quran, not same are those who went before you and those who came later. There is something to be said about those people who jump, who do, who stop talking and start acting. There is a something in there that I need to consult on. I'm one of them, but I need to consult with the rest of them to say, what is it that gets pioneers to jump? And so, we definitely honor you as a grand pioneer. Grand pioneers jump first.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Level people,
No, alhamdulillah.
But may Allah bless your efforts, and we really welcome to have the group. This is, like I said, I'm doubling down the invitation. And if you want to move fast, you want to get it done, and you want to move in a good way, inshallah, bismillah, let's work together.
Jazakallah khair. Definitely it's going to be the discussion item, how we move forward, considering that invitation for sure, because it's important to us, to make a move that's going to be successful, give us the best opportunity for success, and so definitely it's one of the reasons I invited you to come on and talk about it, because you've had great success and are thriving and right now towards greater things, we'd love to be a part of that. Inshallah.
As long as it pleases Allah, inshallah.
Ameen. Tayyib. Jazakallah khair. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. You get some rest, Doc. What time is it there now?
Oh man, it's 11:30. Ali had me up till 5 a.m. yesterday. So
Subhanallah.
I'm not even here right now. My mind, I'm somewhere else, man.
No, Tayyib. Jazakallah khair. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.